You ever wake up, look at your bank account, and think, how did I get here? I mean, honestly, it's like money just disappears. There's rent, groceries, that random impulse buy that you swore you wouldn't make, and suddenly $500 is gone before lunch. And yeah, I know some of you are looking at your paycheck and thinking, if I just had $50,000 in the bank, life would be different. Well, here's the thing. It wouldn't. Not in the way you think. My name's Sam, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. Like, obsessively too much. I catch myself staring at spreadsheets at 2 a.m., wondering why the average person never seems to get ahead even when they make more money. I've been broke, I've been meh in the middle, and now I'm trying to understand what separates people who consistently build wealth from people who, well, don't. And it all comes down to one weird, simple thing: the way rich people think about money. Not how much they have, not their fancy cars, not their vacations, but the way they frame every single dollar. $50,000 isn't just 100 times $500. It's a completely different mindset. So, here's what I want to do with you today. I want to show you how thinking like the rich, yes, even if you're sitting there with $500 in your account, can change your financial life. We're going to dive into stories, examples, mistakes I've made, and habits that honestly blew my mind when I realized how different wealthy people actually think. Stick with me, because by the end, you might see your money in a way you never have before. And I'm not talking about vague invest and save advice, the generic stuff. I'm talking about actionable, uncomfortable truths that nobody really talks about. Most people think $50,000 is a goal, a milestone, something you reach and then celebrate. And yeah, it feels good for a second. But the rich? They don't see it that way. They see money as a tool that works for them rather than something they carry around hoping it'll solve their problems. I remember when I first started freelancing, I had saved about $500, which honestly felt like a fortune to me back then. I kept thinking, if I just had $50,000, I could finally relax. But one late night, a friend of mine, let's call him Jake, sat me down. He said, "Sam, $50,000 doesn't buy you freedom. $50,000 buys you choices, and if you're not smart with those choices, it buys you stress." That hit me like a ton of bricks. $500 is stressful because you're living paycheck to paycheck, yes, but $50,000 can be stressful too if you treat it like a trophy instead of a tool. The rich understand that money's purpose is leverage. Leverage to create opportunities, leverage to invest in themselves, leverage to build systems that generate more money. Why it matters? Treating money as a trophy keeps you trapped. Treating it as a tool opens doors you didn't even know existed. Actionable advice? Next time you see money come in, ask yourself, how can this work for me? Don't just let it sit. Even $500 can be a mini investment in your skills, a side hustle, or a micro opportunity. Here's a simple truth. $500 is urgent. $50,000 is strategic. When you're broke or just scraping by, every dollar feels like it needs to be spent immediately on gas, bills, groceries. That's Starbucks because, well, life. The rich, they think in years, not weeks. I remember borrowing my dad's financial planner book when I was like 22. He had this graph showing the difference between investing $500 a month versus $50,000 once. At first glance, I thought, duh, obviously $50,000 is better. But the book showed that the real power comes from consistent thinking, compounding, and patience. Rich people are patient with money. They understand delayed gratification isn't a buzzword, it's a superpower. They'd rather let $500 grow into $1,000 over a year than blow it on something that gives a 5-second dopamine rush. Why it matters? Living in the moment keeps you broke. Thinking long-term compounds wealth and opportunities. Actionable advice? Start framing every financial decision as a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year question. Even small purchases, $20, $50, ask, will this help me in a year or just satisfy a craving today? Here's a funny thing. When I first got a $500 bonus, I freaked out. Should I put it in savings? Should I spend it? Should I risk it in a stock I didn't understand? I was terrified. Meanwhile, a friend of mine, he had about $50,000 saved, treated the same amount with calm precision. He asked, what can this $500 do for me if I take a smart risk? And he invested it in a low-fee index fund. Not sexy, not flashy, but it worked. Rich people see risk differently. $50,000 isn't scary because they focus on calculated risks that multiply. $500 is scary because poor mindset people see any risk as catastrophic. Why it matters? Fear keeps your money stagnant. Smart risk grows it. Actionable advice? Start with micro-risk experiments. Buy a book, invest $50, or try a side hustle. Treat $500 like a lab, not a lifeline. $500 buys things. $50,000 buys connections. Think about that for a second. Rich people understand that money is a conversation starter, not an endpoint. I'll never forget this dinner with an entrepreneur friend. He had $50,000 in liquid assets and could have bought a fancy car, but he invited 10 like-minded people over instead. That one dinner led to partnerships that turned into multiple six-figure projects. Poor mindset money, it buys stuff that vanishes: clothes, gadgets, meals. Rich mindset money, it buys relationships, knowledge, influence. Why it matters? Connections compound faster than cash. A $500 dinner rarely yields $5,000 worth of opportunity. A $50,000 strategic investment in relationships, that can snowball. Actionable advice? Shift focus from what can I buy to who can I meet. Even small interactions can create exponential opportunities.
I used to treat money like, well, money. Spend some, save some, whatever. Poor mindset. Then I started watching rich people's habits. They mentally assign every dollar a purpose. $50,000 is divided into buckets: investments, business, experiences, personal growth. $500 often scattered on convenience and stress relief. I started trying this myself. I created 4 buckets for my small income. 1, growth; 2, savings; 3, fun; 4, emergency. Even $500 stretched further because every dollar had a job. Why it matters? Unassigned money is wasted money. Assigning purpose creates intentional spending and growth. Actionable advice? Create 3 to 5 mental buckets for your money, even $500. Stick to them. Treat every dollar like a soldier with a mission.
Here's the thing. $500 feels limiting because it is, if you see it as a wall. $50,000 feels empowering because you see doors. The rich are trained to see doors. I remember watching a mentor invest $50,000 in a small side project. Everyone else shrugged. That's risky. He saw a gap, a problem, a chance to grow wealth. That perspective transformed that $50,000 into multiple streams of income. Why it matters? Opportunity mindset turns small amounts into large impact over time. Obstacle mindset turns large sums into stress. Actionable advice? Practice spotting opportunities in everyday life. Even with $500, ask what small move could create $5,000 down the road. $500 can buy comfort, a nice dinner, a gadget, a temporary escape. $50,000, that can buy education, mentorship, courses, experiences that teach you to make more money. I remember spending $500 on a weekend course on investing. It didn't feel necessary at the time, but the skills I learned helped me earn tens of thousands later. Rich people do this consistently. Why it matters? Comfort is fleeting. Growth is compounding. Actionable advice? Every time you consider spending money, ask, does this grow me or just make me feel good for an hour?
So what's the difference really? $500 versus $50,000 isn't just numbers, it's mindset. It's how you see money, how you treat it, and how you let it shape your choices. Rich people don't just have more money, they think differently. They see money as a tool, think long-term, take smart risks, invest in relationships, assign purpose to every dollar, spot opportunities, and spend on growth instead of comfort. You can start small. Even $500 can be enough to shift your mindset. Start treating your money intentionally. Ask the questions, what's this dollar for? How can this work for me? Am I buying comfort or growth? I'm not saying you'll become a millionaire overnight. Honestly, it's not about overnight wins. It's about consistent, small shifts that compound over time, mentally and financially. That's the quiet secret nobody talks about. So here's my encouragement. Start today. Notice how you think about your next $500. Start framing it like a $50,000 opportunity. Pay attention, make intentional moves, and be patient with yourself. Because mindset is the real currency, and if you get your mindset right, the money will follow.